Welcome to Wild, Women in Lending Determined to Make an Impact. I'm your host, Robyn LaVassaur. They say our biggest fear isn't being inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Welcome back to the Wild Podcast with Robyn LaVassaur, talking today about a book that I've read many books over the years, and hopefully you have too, either listened, read, basically engaged in development and ideas. And I went from this stage in life of being a big time reader when I was young. Anybody read the Babysitter's Club? If you're a female listening to this podcast, it's very into that, very much showing my mid 40-year-old age. And then literally evolved to not reading for years and switching to TV. And I got back into business books when I started really at Summit Funding. It was kind of a thing right out of the gate of read this. And I found so much joy, information, knowledge moments in reading and engaging in, honestly, I think there's power in it just in terms of your own thoughts being. In order to read a book, you think about the focus that you have to have, right? The silence, the ability to just hone in, and it's almost like you're having a conversation without anybody having to talk back, and you're getting to listen, right? By reading that book. Reading absolutely has developed and changed my business and my skills in a million different directions. You can podcast as well. You can do a lot of things to grow. Some of them really stand out to me, and I quote them constantly to people. And I thought that I would take a few different episodes mixed in and share with you what those books are and why they were so impactful. And so one of them is such a simple concept, but is missed all the time. And I think if we're really being honest with ourselves, we don't live out our day-to-day business life and or life with this mentality. And we underestimate the amount of peace and joy that it will bring to us if we truly take on this persona. And so if any of you could guess it, it is the go-giver. And I would be so happy at any given time to ship somebody a go-giver. I mean that wholeheartedly, because it is that powerful of a book for you to read, study, and ideally emulate, aspire to be like, right? It's such a difference when you have I don't know if you've ever been in a B&I group or a group, business referral group of any time. B&I is known as their saying, givers gain, right? If you give, you will gain tenfold, right? It will come back to you. Well, I can tell you the go-giver mentality in general is making everything about somebody else, giving somebody to somebody else without expectation. There's the tricky part in business and in life in general, right? How easy it is to think if I do this, then I for sure want that. Nope. People want to ensure a result. And so imagine if every single author that ever thought I'm going to share my thoughts said I'm only going to write the book if it becomes a New York Times bestseller. I'm only going to write the book if I become famous, if I become wealthy. If I get this outcome, then I will give from my heart. Well, I can tell you right now that even with a plan in place to possibly take it there, you'll never even get started. You'll never even find the passion. It will never deliver at the level that you want it to deliver if you're doing it only if there is a guaranteed outcome. Instead, you're doing it for the joy of truly helping others. Let's give some examples around this because I think that it is missed all the time in business. And yes, it can be taken to such an extreme that it doesn't mean, hear me, givers gain. Go-giver mentality is never about saying yes to all things, to all people, and being a doormat. It's not about opening yourself up and giving things away for free and never taking into account what you are doing and how it's going to impact your business. That is not go-giver mentality at all. Go-giver mentality is very much a, how can I help? Am I the best person to help? And can I take it to another level? I'll give you an example. Clients might call in and say, I've got some questions. And actually, let me take it back for a second. I actually want to give a basic example. Even in the smallest way, you think about going to the grocery store or any store for that matter, hardware store, anything. And you walk in and you truly are looking for a specific item. And somebody says, are you looking for something? And you say, yeah, I'm looking for the syrup. We'll call it the syrup right now. And they say, it's on aisle 18. It's helpful, definitely helpful. But imagine if they said, let me take you over there. And then they stopped and they literally helped you get that. Is there anything else you need? Can I take this to the front for you? Can I make things a little simpler? Now, they don't get anything different, right? The likelihood of you buying syrup is for sure pretty darn strong, and they told you what aisle it was located on. They don't get anything different taking it to the next level. That's such a basic, if you will, in customer service in general. Well, giver's gain might be, I'm talking to a client in lending, and they've got a really bad credit score. They don't qualify right now, but their ultimate goal is to buy a house. I can tell you that most of the people in the industry with an NMLS, I hate to say it, but if we're all being honest with each other, give someone a hard no based on the qualifications. Now, here's what's interesting. Imagine having a go-giver mentality, a heart for one day you're going to be able to buy a house. And so I'm going to build a structure around being able to give back to you and help you. Yes, you have to do the work. I can't do it for you. I can't fix the credit myself, but I'm going to pour into you and treat you as if, hey, eventually you're going to become a homeowner, and I'm going to make an impact on that process now, knowing that there's no guarantee of an outcome. You might have somebody who says, hey, would you be willing to, I've done all of these things, let my kids shadow you for the day. Would you be willing to talk to our young, soon-to-be married couple about finances and spend some time with them? If I only did all of that where I thought to myself, is that going to result in a loan? Is that going to guarantee me a paycheck? I can tell you that I would have so much less passion and joy in this business if every single time I did anything, I thought to myself, what's in it for me? And the industry is very hard sometimes to, and listen, we all work for money. We absolutely should. And every time somebody says, I just love houses, I just love home loans, I just love solving problems, I just love helping people, I always think to myself, okay, yes, but logistically, realistically, could you and would you do that for no money? And the answer is literally no. Every single time, right? Because if we could just go have some fun, there's a lot of fun things to do in life that don't necessarily pay. And I can tell you the stress of a home loan is probably not one of them, right? It's probably not one of them. So let's be honest about that. Does that negate the ability to be both? Does it negate the ability to have a go-giver mentality, to give more than you get or without expectation of getting anything in return, but trusting that the universe in general has no agenda? It doesn't have an agenda. It simply rewards giving, right? It simply rewards doing things with heart, with the mentality that I just simply want to help people. Now, I will tell you, imagine somebody saying before an emergency room patient walks in, can we check the insurance before I decide to do this surgery and get out of bed tonight? No, in fact, doctors take an oath to what? Actually work outside the business system, if you will, and they take an oath to serve people, period, end of story, to serve people. And it's really an oath that all of us, imagine how different the world would be in general if we took that, but think about lending in real estate specifically. And that might be a connection, a quick connection. It might not take a ton of time from you. It might be, I saw a client the other day on Facebook and she had a child pass away. Suddenly, they were doing a GoFundMe. I contributed. She has not been my client for years. I don't even know. And you know what? Like, she might even have a different lender at this point. It didn't matter because at that moment, I just needed to take care of her without the agenda that it absolutely has to give me a return. Where is the balance to all of it? What is the balance to all of it? How do we take care of people and still get the work done, make sure that, yes, there are paychecks attached to it? Well, I will tell you this. That's where faith and trust and ultimately process come in, but always feeling like, hey, I did this with the right intention, with the right heart, with the outcome that is going to serve for sure. And yes, it's got to meet in the middle, right? If I don't have a skill set to do something, I'm not going to take it on. Go-giver mentality wouldn't be, let me help you pick up your kids today from school if a client needed that. Can't really take care of that, right? But I might be able to make them a couple nanny recommendations, even though it's inconvenient for me to go take the extra time on something that really has nothing to do with the loan. It's unreasonable hospitality. I'm watching The Bear right now. If anybody's ever watched that, and if you haven't, I highly encourage it. I'm sure I'll do 100 podcasts on that at some point because the metaphors to business are unbelievable. But it's really saying, how do we make people feel cared about beyond the transaction, beyond the money spent? And at the end of the day, if the money never gets spent, but you made somebody feel cared for and they are passing it on to other people, what your heart is, what your effort is, what your energy is, the way you care about people, the way you maybe celebrate or see people or shine a light on them, and you're willing to do those little extra things. You think about it. When was the last time you personally felt extra cared for in a business setting? When was the last time you felt like somebody went above and beyond, listened, noticed, recognized, and actually acted upon something that made your life a little bit easier? I would bet that you're struggling even thinking of one. And so think about the difference when you yourself choose to implement into your business with intentionality, with ultimate passion, to be a go-giver, and what ultimately will come back even with zero expectation. If this episode was helpful, I hope you share it. We'll see you on the next Wild.